Finally, pickups and the controls. As you guys have seen from this presentation, I'm really into the mechanical or the physical aspects of the guitar. And to me, a pickup was always doing just that, picking up what the guitar was doing. So my efforts have always been in trying to improve the performance, try to get that special tone out of the guitar, and almost simply by default would go to Duncan pickups because their reputation for quality and tone and so on is just impeccable. This project turned out to be quite a bit different because as we got into it and we were trying to push the frequency response of the guitar, we were trying to push the attack and sustain. We were trying to grab that mid-range that's defined for all that power and all the various other things we've talked about. It began dawning on us that, to do that and then to fail to capture that with a pickup would have been a really sad thing. So we opted for the Seymour Duncan, their active pickups, and it's their Blackout series, which are just absolutely remarkable. And I promise you, they're not paying me to say this, but you'll see just how amazing these pickups are. We got the first samples in, and with these pickups on them, and I played the guitars for about a half an hour, and I was just stunned. All of these features we've talked about, materials, headstock angles, all these things, I've done before. They've been done before. I had never combined them in the one guitar this way, and when I plugged into the amp, I just could not believe the sound. I had to call a friend, and I said, the guitar feels like you have to hold it down. It's so lively. You can feel this rumble in your rib cage. And I said, what I really understood is that these pickups were capturing that in a way that I had never heard before. The energy that was coming out of the front of that amp was absolutely remarkable. As active pickups go, these are about 1 to 2 dB hotter, but this real sense of power comes from the fact that it has an expanded dynamic range, and it's almost like having an amplifier with unlimited headroom. You just feel this massive sense of power and control. And compared to, say, a passive pickup, they're roughly 6 to 10 dB hotter than that. They've also expanded, I should say, the frequency range, and that was really important to us because we have this guitar which pushes those extremes in highs and lows, so it was important to capture that. They've unscooped the mids. Typically, active pickups are very strong in the low and high end, and they're scooped out in the middle, and yet that mid-range, as we've talked about, if it's clean, provides an amazing sense of power for the guitar. So they've unscooped that, and we get all that complexity in there. Duncan has a guy working for them that they say is a ex-NASA engineer, and when he got involved with this active project, the first thing he zoned in on was the fact that active pickups can be a bit noisy. So each of these pickups has its own separate differential preamp built right into it, and this guy designed a way or figured out a way to make those connections balanced. And those balanced connections, coupled with the fact that they have a proprietary shielding system that lines the inside of the pickup housing, the noise is reduced by about 12 to 14 dB, which is really, really significant. And as one British editor said in a review, it allows for layers of harmonic overtones that are impossible with other pickups. Another thing that's really cool is when you lower your volume on most pickups, you're actually increasing the resistance, and the consequence of that is the pickup tends to sound darker or bassier. And it sort of fights the purpose that you would do that. I mean, when you back off on your volume, very often you're trying to clean up the sound, have less distortion, but you also might be wanting to use a chorus unit or a flanger, and you'd want that sparkle in the sound. So these are designed so that when you reduce the volume, you're not losing that brightness and that clarity. Also, they're less compressed sounding. That was one of the things that always frustrated me about active pickups, because when that sound is compressed, you kind of squeeze the dynamics. In other words, when you bear into that string and you want that peak, you want that emotion to come screaming out, If it's compressed, you lose a bit of that. Some have described it as sort of imposing an alien frequency curve on the guitar. You don't have that here. You seem to be catching all the natural qualities in the guitar. Now, another thing that is really impressive about these is that they are designed as a matched set, and that is actually much more involved than it sounds on the surface. As you can see, when you strum the strings here or here, you're going to get a much brighter sound at this point than you are up here. And that's because the strings, of course, are sitting on the bridge. It's just much brighter sounding. Plus, the string at this point is traveling a much shorter distance. They call that the excursion. So there's shorter string excursion there and longer excursion up here. So they designed the pickups not just to take advantage of that, but to exploit that to the player's advantage. I mean, this is a 2-pickup guitar. The idea that you can capture these extremes, and usable extremes, not extremes that nobody would want to hear. This is really, these provide a way to really impact your music emotionally. And so let's describe the pickup. The neck pickup uses an Alnico 5 magnet, which is a bit warmer. It has a clarity and a depth to it that is just wonderful. And because the string is moving at a greater distance up here and affecting that magnetic field more, there's a little bit less output to the coil. So that's all about getting a little bit extra clarity to that punch. The bridge pickup uses a ceramic magnet. Ceramics are a little bit more raw, a little edgy. They have a bit more punch, and they combine that with a coil that is hotter. So you're going to take advantage of every one of those sonic qualities at the bridge and up at the neck. Where you really begin to appreciate these pickups and this idea of a match set is when you get into the controls. Now, typically on a guitar that's going to be used for a little bit heavier style music, not always, but typically you'll find a single volume and a single master tone. And the logic is pretty clear. Most people that are playing heavier music do kind of lean on that bridge pickup most often. But with the capabilities of these 2 pickups, it seemed absolutely necessary to have the 2 volume controls, because what happens is not only do they control the volume, but those controls become sort of a master tone laboratory. And here's how it works. Let's just set up a situation where you want to develop a long lead, an artsy lead, very emotional. So set your controls, back them all off to about 7. So your 2 volumes and your tone. And take your amplifier up, the treble control, up just a little bit. Just make it a little brighter than you normally would. And so to start your lead, put it on the bass pickup, the neck pickup. And as you're playing, you know, you're getting that sweetness, that definition, you're getting that depth. Still, it's got that incredible power and output from these pickups, but it's defined, okay? And you can play with that volume control, take it up, take it back a little bit. Then you put both pickups on. You've got that neck pickup at 7 again. As you back off on that bass pickup, or I should say 2, when you do go to both pickups, now you've got that bridge pickup in, and that energy, the intensity of that energy from the bridge is coming in a little bit. It's just a little bit more intense, but not over the top. When you then back down on the bass, the neck volume, the volume for the neck pickup, you let that bridge pickup sort of dominate, but it's just again a little more clarity, a little bit brighter. It's not anything that's over the top. And when you bring the bass pickup volume up a little bit, you bring in a more dominance of that bass, that low end. When you bring up the volume on the bridge pickup, you're not just bringing up more treble. You're changing the whole character of the sound. The rawness, the snarl of that ceramic pickup starts coming out, and the whole quality of the sound changes and gains in intensity. And then when you put just the lead pickup on and you remove that neck sound, that sort of warmth, it's over the top, and then finally you can bring your tone control up to full. And it gives you this amazing range of expression. And again, those 2 volume controls act as this amazing tone laboratory that I think only pickups like this would be able to deliver.